不见，凄凄无频频，君不见。
Okay, so much for the mass society, mass media trend. The second trend is so-called the limited effect trend. This trend is headed by the scholar named Paul Lazarsfeld. This man is an strong advocate of post-positivism. In other words, he believes mass communication or communication can be studied, can be understood like other branches of sciences, such as math, such as physics and chemistry and biology. It's knowable. There are differences, of course, between study of social science and study of more hard sciences. He advocates the conduct of carefully designed, elaborate surveys and even field experiment where he could observe the media influence and measure their influence and their magnitude. This sounds very much like scientific experiment, the process, the procedures that are employed in other branches of science, the branches of hard sciences. But more importantly, apart from his positivism and the post-positivism inclination, the more important finding for such a trend is that media is not that terrible. Media is not that powerful. Media could not spell doomsday for the society as it exists. Okay, it does not have that much power. Unlike, in contrast to what those pessimistic, those negative, those believers, those dwellers of the old times, those privileged, the few privileged dwellers of the old times who were fearful of the current changes brought about by the Industrial Revolution, brought about by the large-scale migration and the thorough transformation of the society. Unlike their belief that society can be transformed for the worse, the media holds power that can spell doom for the human society. If not doom, then definitely corruption of the human society. Unlike that, the believers of this unlimited effect trend, they tend to believe medias are not that fearful. People have numerous ways of resisting media influence. What powers, what ways do you have? What methods, what assistance can you have in order to resist media influence? Of course, there are other competing factors, such as the family, the friend, religious community, so on and so forth. Don't forget, we as human beings exist in groups. We get information, we learn culture, we become ourselves through the interaction with other people. The media is not the only means we gather information. We gather information, reliable, especially reliable information, reliable knowledge, not solely based on media. There are teachers, there are professionals, there are expertise, there are professors who are all very good sources of information. So the media more often seem to reinforce existing social trend and strengthen rather than threaten the status quo. Of course, the media has a strengthening power, has a power of doing something plus. And for these people who stick to the trend of limited effects, little or no empirical research supported mass society, mass media thinking. Through their research, they found no evidence and they did not draw any conclusions that tally with the mass society, mass culture, mass media thinking. And most researchers stopped looking for powerful media effects. They abandoned that powerful media, powerful society trend. And instead they concentrate on documenting limited effects. The key word here is limited. And there was nothing left to study when it came to mass media, as is proclaimed by some researcher, by some scholar in the late 1960s, I think. There's not much to study, not much learn about the mass media. This is the end of mass media. Similar things was said about history, the end of history. Critical cultural trend and meaning-making trend. There are other two trends which I will leave to the next week's discussion, okay?